trying to gauge the look in her eyes as he handed her the wine. "To celebrate your book hitting the bestseller list again." Portia shrugged her shoulders, as if to say the achievement was no big deal, but a blush of happiness stained her cheeks. Xavier filled the other glass and lifted it to clink against hers. He wondered if she had noticed the slight tremor in his hand. His heart faltered as he saw the smattering of white powder on the rim of her glass, but Portia seemed oblivious. She brought the glass to her lips and drank deeply. "Now let's see about that bath," she said, carrying her drink out of the room. "The water's getting cold." Looking around the living room one last time, Xavier reviewed his plan. He didn't feel good about the delay, but he had no choice. He'd just have to get the next step over quickly and move on. Relieved to see the robe discarded on the floor, a genuine smile played around his mouth as he took in Portia's long, slender figure reclining in the luxurious tub. "She is an exquisite woman. One of my better finds, I have to admit." He shook his head to clear it. "I'm feeling a little dizzy." Portia's words were slurred as she squinted up at him. "I think the water's too hot." Xavier took a deep breath and moved forward, steeling himself for what had to come next. The uneasy sensation was back. Something didn't feel right. But what could it be? Had he forgotten something? Or was he just getting weak and soft? "You're just tired," he said, circling the tub and placing his well-manicured hands on Portia's shoulders. "I'll scrub your back." "No, I really don't feel well. I want to get out. I don't—" A gush of hot water stopped her words as he forced her shoulders down, triggering a sudden flash of panic. She flailed her arms and kicked her feet, sending a wave of water over the side of the tub. Anger flooded through Xavier as he struggled to hold Portia down, feeling the scalding water soak through his jeans. "The bitch got my jeans wet. How am I supposed to get out of here now?" He gripped her shoulders with mounting frustration. A black t-shirt and hoodie were hanging safely in the closet, but all his other clothes were packed and waiting for him in the car. He hadn't planned on leaving the hotel looking like a drowned rat. His appearance would definitely raise questions, especially since the after-dinner crowd had likely dispersed by now. A lone man walking out in soaking wet jeans would be noticed. A stinging pain brought his attention back to the woman struggling under the water. Portia had stuck up one desperate hand to claw at his wrist, while her other hand now gripped the edge of the tub. Xavier grimaced as her long fingernails dug into his skin. Stifling the curse that hovered on his lips, he tightened his aching hands in frustration and pushed Portia lower in the water. "I should have waited for her to pass out. I should have followed the plan." Her eyes bulged and widened in fear in the water below him, and he looked away with distaste, knowing from experience that her face would soon darken into a revolting shade of blue. Xavier kept his cold eyes averted as Portia convulsed beneath him, refusing to give in to his rising panic. "Everything is going to be all right. I'll find another way out and no one will ever know I was here. I'll be long gone before she's even discovered." Finally, after what seemed to Xavier like hours, her body went limp and sank heavily to the bottom. One last feeble gush of water spilled over the side as the struggle ended. Xavier's heavy breathing was the only sound in the room as he gazed down at Portia's lifeless body with grim satisfaction. The job was almost done. A high-pitched ring filled the silence of the room, and Xavier jumped in alarm as Portia's cell phone vibrated against the marble countertop. He looked over at the phone with narrowed eyes. Crossing to silence the call, he recognized the face that flashed on the screen. It was Jane Bishop, Portia's literary agent. He pushed the button to send the call to voicemail, and the display went dark again. But Jane Bishop's meddlesome face had heightened his anxiety. "It'll only be a matter of time before the old bat sends out the cavalry." Xavier knew he'd better hurry. He'd gotten through the hardest part of the plan already. It was time to move on to the next stage. He turned to survey the room. Puddles of water surrounded the tub, and the cotton robe rested in a sodden heap several feet away. Splotches of blood made a trail from the tub to where he stood by the sink. He looked down to see 2 bloody scratches on his forearm. "Shit!" Grabbing a plush hand towel, he wrapped it around his arm and tried to think. He'd screwed up, but he still had a chance. He'd always managed to find a way out before.